right, so let's do an overview of the respiratory system. Respiratory system. So let's do an overview, an introduction to. All right. So what are the functions of the respiratory system? Well, the first main function you should think of would be gas exchange. So gas exchange, you need to get oxygen in, and you need to get carbon dioxide out. Okay, we need to do this because we need oxygen in order for our body cells to do cellular respiration. So if you remember that reaction, so we know this is glucose, and if we add oxygen, then we get carbon dioxide, some water, and ATP. All right, so we need the oxygen to do this, and the waste product is CO2, so we got to be able to get rid of that as well. In getting rid of, when we talk about the carbon dioxide, if you remember, this is a reminder here, remember this, CO2 plus water gives us carbonic acid, which breaks down to hydrogens and bicarbonate. So this is another thing, the way we can get rid of carbon dioxide, by manipulating the pH. If our pH is too high, we can convert all those hydrogens into carbonic acid. We can break that into water and CO2 and breathe it out. And that's how most of our pH is maintained, is through that reaction there. All right, what else does the respiratory system do? Well, it conditions the air. All right, so when you breathe in through your nasal passages and down into your bronchi and all of that, that air is warmed and it is humidified. So it makes it kind of moist. Okay, so it makes it, treats it so that by the time it gets into down to your alveoli, it's nice and warm and moist and all of that, so that the gas exchange can occur easily. All right, the next thing, talking. All right, that flaps your vocal cords. And that produces sound. Okay, pretty important. All right, smell. All right, we have that olfactory epithelium in the nasal cavity, in the nasal passages, covers the nasal cavity. And that's how we smell things. Okay. And protection. Our nasal passages are covered with mucous membranes. And there's things like cilia, the goblet cells, which make the mucus. And that protects us when we get microbes and things that come in, and dust and whatever, and traps those things so that they don't get down into our lungs there. All right, so that's basically the overview of the respiratory system, what the respiratory system does. How does it work? So just really quickly, we'll go through its mechanisms. So we're going to talk about ventilation. All right, so that's just the act of breathing in and out. So inhalation and exhalation, and we're going to talk about how that occurs. All right, the next thing is external respiration. Right, and that's the process where we get gas exchange between the blood and the lungs. So basically, well, between, because one is going in and one is going out, but between lungs and blood. We're bringing oxygen into the blood, we're getting CO2 back to the lungs so we can breathe it out. Internal respiration. So now we have gas exchange again occurring between blood and tissue. Okay, oxygen needs to get into the tissues, CO2 needs to get out of the tissues into the blood so we can take it back to the lungs. And then finally, cellular respiration. All right, so that's this up here. Actually, this up here. So cellular respiration is the work that's done that utilizes that oxygen and creates that CO2 that we have to get out. So remember, we're going to talk about each one of these: ventilation, external respiration, internal respiration. We won't talk about this until the digestive system. But remember, in gas exchange, the air gets close to the blood but does not mix with it. So just as an aside, air gets close to blood but does not mix with it. Okay, so there's an overview of the respiratory system, which we're going to talk about most of those things. A little bit of anatomy, and then how the things work, how we breathe in and out, external and internal respiration, talk about all those things.